Blessed be y'all, this is Jim Fremont. I am sitting here, I'm thinking about people. I had an occasion, I have a friend that I met when I was working more than 20 years ago. I met him on the job. And we resonated together and we have kept in touch. The only person that I have ever worked with that I have kept in touch for any length of time. Generally when I leave a job, I leave everybody behind. And I must say though that very few of the people that I've worked with did I ever socialize with outside of the job. But he's one of them. And in a lot of ways, I always thought that he was different than me. We kind of commiserated a lot about the job and stuff like that. And it seemed like he had a different life than I did. And I'm not going to go into the details or anything because he told me a lot of stuff about himself that is private stuff, I might talk about the commonalities at another time, but it will not be associated with him. It will just be said as my experience. But yeah, he has been delving very much into himself, improving himself, and letting go of a lot of the stuff that has held him back, figuring out a lot of the stuff that has held him back. And he started telling me about a lot of stuff that I know over the years, he just had to put that stuff out of his mind and suppress it. Because it was too painful. It tied into his family and everything else, and so we never talked about it. But we started talking about a lot of the stuff that he did in his life, a lot of the people that his family knew, and I understand why I resonate with him because his family and my family associated with a lot of the same people. And I have another friend that he was in that same, his family was in that same crowd there. And I think that's why I resonate with him too, because we have some of that commonality and also our common interest in improving ourselves. At this point, my friend, he's in a situation that, he may or may not ever get out of it. I don't know. He's considering how to. And I won't go into the details of it. I think that's between us, but I can just say situation. And he can actually see that he can get out because of all the delving he has done into his family history, into recognizing the programming that he has been living by, and seeing that his thought that he was trapped is rooted in the programming. That's what I found also. The thoughts that I am trapped are rooted in the programming. I don't see outside of what has been programmed into me to be the things that are normal, acceptable, doable. And it takes a lot to be able to strip away that programming and once again be able to move forward. I struggled a whole lot with thinking that I had to have the wife, the house, the 2.3 children, the minivan, all of that sort of stuff to be happy. That's what the programming tells you. That's what society tells you. That's what that's the church's program. That's the Christian program there. That plugs you into the system. That plugs you into making money so that you can give it to the church. That plugs you into it plugs you into sending that energy up the pyramid in the form of money and your life energy. And it's all designed so that you will not see a way out. You must support these children. You must support your wife no matter what. And I know this won't be popular with any women that are probably watching this, but years ago I was driving to see my folks in another state, and I was on the road alone. It was one of the first trips I had ever driven by myself someplace, and I was probably about 20 at the time, maybe 21, something like that. And I had a new car. Well, I'd had it for maybe 6 months or a year, but it was a sound car. And I had a few $100s in my pocket, and I was driving, and I understood, because I felt free. I felt like I could just go and keep driving. And I always heard of men that had left their wives and left everything. And in that moment, I understood that. I understood that sometimes it is such a trap that you have to leave absolutely everything behind you and start over, as if your house burned down and you have nothing. And I know that's what men used to do a long time ago, and it was always seen as something horrible. But they were backed into a corner, and they had no other. There wasn't a viable alternative. There wasn't a way to get out of the situation, whatever situation they were in. Locked into a hopeless job. A wife that would not give them any attention. A wife that all she would do is nag at him, no matter what he did. And, there weren't marriage counselors and stuff like that back then, and that's all they could do was just leave. And I was feeling very hemmed in. I wasn't married with children or anything, but I was feeling very hemmed in at the time, and I thought to myself, it would be so good to just drive. Just keep driving and stop someplace. I'll see if I can find me a job someplace. I've got a few, this is the 80s, so, a few $100s would last you a few weeks anyway. And a couple of 100 miles later, I came back and thought, my folks are expecting me, and and I can't just disappear. And I was sad about that. I thought, well, maybe someday I'll do that. And I've thought about that a lot. I've thought what it would be like. When I was in high school, I wanted to join the Air Force, and I was rejected because my eyes were too bad. And I considered going and joining the French Foreign Legion. And I have often wondered what my life would be like if I had done that. At the time, I was, I was pretty proficient in the French language, and but I couldn't. I had no idea how I would get there, and so, needless to say, I didn't do that. But that's one of those paths not taken. Another path not taken a few years ago, I went to an Easter sunrise service and saw somebody there that I had met years ago, and I liked her and I considered dating her, and she was too young at the time, so of course I did not pursue anything like that. And I saw her there, and I saw how she had changed, and she was not the nice, pretty girl that I knew back then. She had hardened. She had become something that I would not have wanted to marry. And that was a path not taken also, and I'm glad I didn't. I could have pursued her when she got a little bit older, but I did not. I had other things going at the time. But that's, look for people, I would say, if you want to be friends with somebody, some of the old commonalities, how they were raised, how the families that their family associated with when they were young. Your family and their family may not have known each other, which is the case with my friends, but it's an interesting common bond, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this anymore. I've rambled a little bit, but I think you get the idea. This is Jen Fremont. Blessed be y'all.